The problem right now with the way our society is dealing with sexual criminality is that we're entirely reactive. We're not doing one thing to prevent sexual criminality. I want people to become part of the solution by becoming more informed. So part of this show is just listening to the story of the offender and learning from that one experience. But the more important goal of the show is to educate the community, to educate parents, to educate spouses, to educate law enforcement, and everyone else involved. Together we can make a difference. And I think watching the show is where it starts. So you went home that day.
I went home that day and I told my son and my wife that I said that I touched him. And at that time, I wasn't sure what to do. I was terrified. I got on a bus. My son drove me to a bus. I was going to go into Canada. And I decided, I got all the way up towards Canada, and I decided that wasn't a good idea. So I ended up in Salt Lake City. I went back. I tried to seek help with the church, try to figure it out. The bishop called me. The church got a hold of the bishop, and I got a hold of him. He talked me into coming back and facing it.
So you got back from Salt Lake City.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And then, and after your aborted attempt to flee to Canada, you decided to
come home. Bishop talked me into coming home and facing it. I would be the best thing I could do. So okay. I took his advice, came home. I ended up attempting suicide because I had trouble dealing with it. Spent a week in a mental health facility. Got home from that. Was home probably an hour. Got a call from the detective to come in and see her, and I didn't want to see her at that time. I would prefer to see her the next day. She was sitting out, I guess, outside my house, and we started to go down to Silver Springs with my son, and pulled us over, and I was arrested at that point.
Okay.
And
so you were taken into custody.
Mm-hmm.
And taken to the jail?
Yes. I couldn't stop crying. I couldn't handle anything. I had trouble just dealing with everything. And that went on for pretty much a year. I decided I wasn't going to prison. The lawyer, of course, told me I would get probation. But I wasn't really 100% sure on that. So I smuggled 8 blood pressure tablets. I hid them in a granola bar. It was terrifying. I was afraid I was going to get caught with them.
In your jail cell?
Yeah, because what I did is I put them in a granola bar, and then I sealed the granola bar shut. Of course, a bunch of my candy and stuff got stolen, and I was terrified then at that point when it happened, because it happened 2 or 3 times. But they didn't take the granola bar; it had the blood pressure pills. And they had the dogs, of course, come in one day and search everybody's cell. And I was terrified then they were going to find them. And I decided if I ended up going to prison, I would end up taking all 8 blood pressure pills because I knew that would lower my blood pressure. And I would end it that way. My wife pretty much knew what I was going to do because I learned how to... With people's help, I made a note, and I displayed it on the window and showed her what I had. And I told her if it happened, that was it. I needed her to be prepared.
And she kept your secret.
And when went before the judge, when the year was up, the judge asked, what I wanted to do. I says, I want you to end it today. And I almost said if he didn't end it, I was going to, but for some reason I caught myself on that.
This over a crime in which you masturbated in front of your nephew one time, never laid a hand on him, and you'd never committed another crime in your life, have you?
No. I just didn't know how to deal with anything or handle anything anymore. It's just, I felt like my whole world was upside down.
And you got probation.
5 years probation. I had a problem with, I never even talked to my wife about it until recently, about the abuse and stuff that happened with me.
When you say abuse, now you were never sexually abused.
Never sexually abused.
So you're not claiming that because you were sexually abused, you ended up abusing somebody. But when you talk about abuse, what do you mean?
Well, growing up, I had a problem. I didn't get over it until I was like 22 when I got married.
Mm-hmm.
I had a problem when I was growing up, basically wet in the bed. My mother would spank me in front of my friends. She would put diapers on me. She would wrap wet sheets around my face.
When you say wet sheets?
Sheets that were peed on.
Okay.
Embarrassed me in front of my friends.
How old were you when she was putting diapers on you?
12.
In front of you, and you had to wear them in front of your friends?
Yeah, and she'd hang the wet sheets out on the clothesline or wrap them around my face.
When you were 12 also?
It went on for basically until I almost left home. Until I left home. I tried all kinds of things to stop it, but nothing worked.
What kinds of things did you try?
I tried tying a string around me. I tried staying up all night. I would wake up and the bed would be wet. I tried drying out the sheets.
This must have been just horrible for you.
Yep, it was.
And it stopped around exactly the time you got married?
It stopped about the day after I got married.
That was part of what led up to this offense? I mean, certainly I
Well,
can see how that would
in
affect
our family, none of the kids were really taught about sex. It was never brought up. Nobody talked about it. And I didn't really know much about it either. The first time I had sex was with my wife. And she's the one that initiated at that time.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm just trying to put myself in your place. I mean, if I'd been reared in a family where I was forbidden to go to school, forced to work at an early age, and never learned how to read, and then eventually developed a bedwetting problem for which I was humiliated on a regular basis for years. And then finally, I get married to some wonderful gal who loves me, and we have a great life, only to find the two of us with my son moving back in, his wife, and my nephew, and lots of stress in this tiny little place. My wife becomes chronically ill, and this all happens just the year before you offend.
Yeah, now I'm just trying to hold everything together, and just the harder I seem to try, the more things seem to fall apart.
Okay. Well, that helps me to understand how you might not have been thinking at your best at the time of this offense. Now, with this crime, do you also have to register?
For the rest of my life.
Okay.
That bothered me a lot.
Okay, that weighs on you. And you're on probation. How long are you on probation?
I'm off somewhere in 2010.
Now, how many years will that be?
It's supposed to be 5 years, but with a good time, I get off in 2010. So.
And then do you have to go on to lifetime supervision?
Yes.
And lifetime supervision lasts a year or two, or is it a lifetime?
My understanding, it means the rest of your life, as long as you live.
Okay. I'm really glad you did this. I think it is going to help a lot of other people.
I hope maybe I can help change somebody else's life sometime.
I think this is going to be really good for a lot of people.